Maybe we move to the mining sector. Over the last 10-15 years, Tanzania suddenly has become a very attractive country for large mining concerns, particularly diamond, gold, gemstones, nickel, and most recently uranium. Despite this rapid growth in mining, the impact on the economy remains insignificant. We're not seeing the results that we're expecting as a result of increased revenues from mining. And even then, research has shown that many of the mining concessions are doubtful, and the contracts and agreements are not in favor of the country and are not in favor of the economy. What's happening now is that, largely as a result of a lot of advocacy work both within and outside Tanzania, is that they're making some amendments to the Mining Act to try to redress some of these imbalances. Internally, there are also conflicts over mining. With regard, for example, to uranium, a concession has been issued in one of the largest hunting concessions in Tanzania, the Selous, which also happens to be a World Heritage Site. So there's been an application for government to hive off part of the Selous in order to allow for the mining of uranium. We don't know how it's going to be mined. We don't know what processes are going to be used. But I've seen some pamphlets and leaflets from the mining company saying that they'll do it in a way which will be completely not harmful to anybody. I doubt it. Recently, we've had some problems again with another World Heritage Site, the Serengeti National Park, which borders the Kenya Masai Mara. And the intention there was to put a highway through the park. And despite all the advice from conservationists, the government was adamant. But the problem was the very idea of coming up with that road was done in secrecy. It was mired in secrecy. And that resulted into a lot of concerns. Why? An option was provided by the World Bank and the government of Germany to think about opening a southern road which would circumvent the area. The government rejected that idea. But eventually, I think, as a result of a lot of pressure, and I think when the president made his last visit to South Africa, the South African president asked him about the road, and I think it kind of became embarrassing, and he went public and said, no, we're not going to build that road. So we've yet to see to what extent that is true. But the idea is there's a link between the mining companies and the need for a road that goes into the ports from east to west to the country, but also to some of the landlocked countries, particularly Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Wildlife, tourism, and hunting. Again, this is a very fast growth area, contributes significantly to national income and employment. And there's a fantastic wildlife policy that allows for communities to benefit from wildlife. But despite more than 15 years of that policy being in place, we have yet to see communities benefiting up to the level that they should be benefiting. And the great contradiction there is you see that those mandated with being in charge of that very same policy are basically shooting that policy down. Most recently, the wildlife director has been sacked with 3 other officials, senior officials. And this followed after a lot of complaints in Parliament of an embarrassing institution in which a number of animals were illegally procured, boarded on a plane at Kilimanjaro International Airport without any paperwork, and taken to the United Arab Emirates. And no questions were asked. That's the type of impunity that we are seeing. But the media, parliamentarians both within the ruling party and opposition who've come to a point of saying that enough is enough, were extremely vocal about that issue. And I think we're making some progress. Forestry too has one of the better policies, not only in the country but within Africa. The sector is very important for households, extremely important in terms of energy, construction materials, ecosystem functions, biodiversity, medicinal plants, and so on. And despite its immense contribution to the economy, reinvestment into that sector is extremely low. And it's ridiculous. Consequently, because of a lot of illegal trade, we're seeing that only 10%, not more, possibly less, but only 10% of the potential revenues in forestry are actually being secured by government. The 90% is leaking, year after year. Recent studies have shown some lucrative sales and substantial illegal timber harvesting, and this has come up in the public. And right now we are seeing, and TNRF indeed is engaged in this, in a lot of lobbying and advocacy work regarding with illegal timber trade in Tanzania. Tanzania is a recipient of one of several countries under a Danida-funded project to roll out RED, reduced emissions from deforestation and degradation. And I think it's about $100 million has been made available to see this thing being piloted. And one of the amazing things is, you know, the moment the $100 million was mentioned, officials who are never interested in reduced emissions in deforestation and degradation are the most focused and most interested ones. It's very encouraging. But the missing link here is that the communities who are supposed to be managing these forests, up until today, haven't sat on that table that is making policies, rules, and regulations. Yet another contradiction. So the potential for improving poverty through forestry is great when you combine normal forest management and what the forests can give in terms of commercial and domestic needs, but also when you top up with revenues from RED.